Welcome back to another episode, CRE, The Unspoken Truth. I'm Charlie Capola, and I'm joined here by my father, Craig. Today, we're talking about the value of team, something you know well. You've really toyed with this idea, I would say, your whole career,
Toyed.
and
This has been my passion, my
experimented,
mission.
played
Yes.
with, and ultimately, I would say, figured out towards. But I want to hear about your journey, team building. Why and when did you decide, hey, I'm gonna have a team, and why did you decide that?
Well, I remember early in my career in the 80s, my first runner, and he's still a broker today at Cushman and Wakefield, Tom Jacobs, was my first runner. And I just felt back then I didn't have the vocabulary and I didn't have the knowledge I have today, but I just felt like I knew I could generate business. And I just had so much to do. There is so many things for us to do as a broker that I felt like I wanted to spend all my time where I was money making activities. And so I brought on Tom Jacobs as my first runner before I had an assistant. And I saw the value of how much he could take off of my plate. And so ever since then, since the 80s, I've always had at least one runner. We now, in the last 10 years, have always had two runners on our team. And then I learned the value of us actually building a team with full-time assistants and other people, specialists on our team. So it's been quite the 35-year journey for how to build a team.
A lot of brokers never have an assistant like they're just lone wolves.
Yep.
Why? It sounds like very early on you decided that wasn't the path for you. Why?
Well, I think there's three reasons why you want to build a team. The first reason is you want to put yourself in your daily activities where you, what we call unique ability, right? You want to do what you're really good at. In my case, I was really good at business development and negotiating leases. So I spent a ton of time um, making sure that that's what I did 8 to 5. I was developing business and I was working on transactions, and everything else I had to do after hours. And I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way here where I'm not spending until midnight following up on calls or doing proposals or doing packages and doing all those kinds of things. So you will, I wanted to be a higher producing ever. So that's the first thing I did. My daily, every dime that I was working. The second thing is I thought I could make more money. I could make more money because I could leverage myself into high dollar things and less and outsource, if you will, to a team member, let lower end things. And then finally, my time. I started traveling. We had family. I was coaching you. I was coaching your sisters, and we were traveling a bunch. And so I wanted those three things. I wanted more time away where I could walk, actually be away. I wanted to make more money, and I wanted to change the structure of my day.
Gotcha. So you started with hiring a runner. And then did you try to hire? I know you've tried to hire, or you tried to hire an assistant. I've heard that story.
Yeah.
So walk me through like that stage of your career, a runner, a young guy, a partner, an assistant. Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, so runners are, cheap labor, right? You can hire them fairly cheap, but you're also creating a potential competitor. So a lot of brokers don't want to do that. They bring in young guys and then they teach them the business and then they go out in the marketplace and they could potentially compete against them. I never viewed that as competitive to me. I always felt like no one's going to compete with me, but a lot of brokers do. So if you don't want that, then you go, okay, how can I hire an assistant that can do some of these things that's going to be on my team? They won't roll off every 2 years. One of the downsides of runners is a year to 2 years later, they're on their own and you have to start over again. And so I started building a team and I, as you know, I went through 18 assistants in 3 years. And then found one that stayed with me for 11 years. And then now Chelsea's been with me almost 15 years. And Allie's behind and Nick's here. So you could see I'm at Lean Associates today, and we have a big team, 11 people, including Nick's, our youngest new partner, Allie's, Andrew Cheney, my other partner's assistant, and Chelsea's sitting right next to me here. So we now have built this over the 40 years period, 35 years, a full team so that I get to do a lot of just everything that I want to do and nothing that I don't.
Yeah. So ultimately, I think early 2000s, you and Andrew ended up partnering, but did you bring him on as a runner to start? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
I always viewed runners as kind of, the guy. Every one of the four partners, me, Andrew, Greg, and Nick. Andrew, Greg, and Nick were all runners for me,
Yeah.
and so we every 5 to 10 years we get somebody that we really like, that we think is really adding value to the team, brings a different skill set than what we have, and so we ask them to be part of the team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's our minor leagues.
It's the farm system.
Yep.
Did you ever um, consider partnering with an established, like going the runner route and having to train them? Like you mentioned, a lot of people shy away from wanting to do that.
Yep.
Do you ever consider, hey, partnering? And I know, Bill Blake, you've done a lot of business with him, somewhat established already, similar age, you could just partner up. And was that a consideration for you?
Yeah, a lot of people do that. There's two types of sit, and I learned this from Bob Mulhern, who's the managing partner here for Transwestern, just left Colliers. He says there's the pro set where you want the best at all levels. So you're going to have 4 or 5 partners, and they're all Craig Capola level, and that's a professional team, or a college set where I was really the guy, and I had runners, and I brought them along. And for me, when I looked around in the marketplace and I said, hey, who's going to add more value? I wanted it to be accretive to me. And so who's going to add more value to me? And I didn't feel like there was many people in the marketplace that were as committed to the industry, would work the hours, that had the skill set that I did. So I went with the college set as opposed to the pro set.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys who do that. And the pro set's a very fine thing. It's just a different model than what we
Yeah.
created here.
And I would imagine it'd be difficult, especially if you're confident in your abilities and your own culture that you kind of have, your core values, and then you try to partner with someone. Most of the time, someone who's more senior has their own version of that. And I would imagine there's more conflict than, someone coming from college who's green.
It's a marriage. I have one
Yep.
marriage. I've been married to your mom for a long time. I understand the complexities of a long-term relationship, and it was and I had one. I didn't, and we're equal partners. I didn't really want that in my business. So Bill and I always kept our team. Bill Blake and I did a lot of work together, but we always kept ourselves separate. So while we did work together and still do work together, but we were able to do other things as well.
Yeah.
But the team, I think we get back to the team is like what the team allows you to do. If you just think about this, most brokers want more people on there to grow their team so they can make more money. So that's typically what brokers are doing. So you have to bring somebody on that's either going to allow you to go make more money. But then what happens is brokers bring on a team member and then don't take that additional time that they have and go spend it doing money making activities, more events, cold calling, canvassing, more lunches with potential prospects. So when you bring somebody on that's going to take you away from some of these things that aren't money making, you have to then translate it into what the money making activities are. And so I see a lot of people bring on assistants and they just go home earlier.
Yeah.
And to me, that it's fine if you're saying, hey, I'm fine at this financial level, and I just want more time with my kids. That's a great reason, but you have to be really honest with yourself. You have to tell yourself the unspoken truth of why
Yeah.
you're bringing this person on and what they're going to do for you.
Yeah. Well, you started this with the three benefits of building a team, and you said changing the structure of your day or the types of activities, types of tasks you're working on, the potential to make more money, and then the potential to diversify your time with more personal travel, family, whatever it is. So,
It's been interesting. So we have 4 partners now, and Nixon. The first 2 additions did not increase my team. I was making a lot of money, but those brokers did not make our team grow in terms of dollars. They added us a little bit more stability where we didn't go up as high or low, and they gave me a lot more time.
yeah,
So for me, it was, and they took me out of things I didn't want to do. I could do them, but I didn't want to do them.
yeah,
And so they helped me on 2 of the 3. I don't think you can get all 3.
yeah,
I don't think you're going to get all 3. You have to know which ones you want, and you kind of work to that.
yeah. So let's fast forward to where you are today. You said team of 11, assistants, runners every 2 years, four partners. Why have you built the team into what it is today? And do you see that continuing? What are the pros and cons of kind of the structure you guys? Because that is unique. We talk to brokers all the time. It's not unique to have a partnership and or maybe a broker with an assistant or small team of two or three. But there are few teams out there that are 8 plus, 10 plus with multiple brokers and assistants and all that.
Yeah, as I get older, I just want to do less. So we made our team grow. We grew our team, and what I found is, and this sounds cocky, and it probably is. Is when I was in my heyday, I mean, I could do a lot. I was closing 80 deals a year by myself with one assistant and a runner. And it was like I was doing that. And now our top deal guy can close 50. That's it. And so he's 30 deals, but beyond what I can. And I've got a whole team around him. So partially the market's changed too. For office space, it's harder to get deals done. There's more complexity in it than there was 25 years ago. There's more market. I mean, we're in a bigger marketplace. We're in a 110 million square foot market, and the way that the tenant advisory services or landlord services are provided, it's way more complex.
Yeah,
So that's changed. So the industry's changed. It's gotten more
yeah,
sophisticated, and you have to do that.
yeah,
And what we're finding along with a lot of the brokers that we have on the OneSource platform, we're providing a sophistication that they haven't had before. So
yeah,
there's a learning curve for them to kind of say, look, this is where the market's heading. Having data at your fingertips on all your transactions, that's where the market's heading. Having having the ability to follow up with a sophisticated system that's super easy to use, but it's still sophisticated. It's not just Excel. That requires people to kind of make some change in their lives. And one of the things that we've learned is brokers don't want to do that, and yet the market is telling us you have to do it.
yeah. The market's changed, the industry's changed, it's become more sophisticated, and therefore the level and ultimately, right, it's required more from the brokers. So more
Yeah,
work, more time.
if you're a broker in your 50s and you have clients that you've been doing business with for a long time, they slowly fade away. What happens is brokers' business just slowly fades away because they're not generating new business, they're not doing new deals. In my case, we're doing 150, 140 to 150 transactions a year, and today I have some one of the other team members is bringing in somewhere 70 to 80 of those deals, maybe 100, and I'm not involved in them. I don't even know what they are. So we're still up here at the top where most brokers have in my stage in the career would be just declining.
Yeah.
And so I've looked at that and I said, okay, it's extended my life span here at the company. I would have burned out a decade ago without Andrew and Greg and Chelsea and our team. And we're still a top producing team.
I love it.
But
So
again, I will also say it's just a huge commitment. You just have
yeah,
to be committed to it. You can't, I want to do that because brokers are notoriously poor managers. They don't train well. They don't want to spend time. They they treat people that work with them like crap. And I was as guilty as the next guy for a long time. I'm way better now, as you know. I'm way better manager today than I was, but it's hard. You gotta
yeah,
be willing to grow.
yeah, big commitment. Well, you started the couple benefits, structuring your day more in your unique ability, and that's a strategic coach word. Um, Help you make more money, diversify time, more personal time. I would say, just from my perspective, strategic coach is you've been a part of that program. They've helped you kind of think about all this, right? I don't know if you want to give a
Unbelievable.
plug there
Yeah,
on what they've
unbelievable.
done for you.
Strategic coach. I'm a huge, still going to strategic coach 32 years later. Huge proponent of strategic coach and what it's done for my life.
Is there anything else that has helped you think about the team, or maybe a mentor or a program or a technology or a framework that you're like, hey, this is something that I've really leaned into and adopted when I've thought about building the team?
It's funny. In 1990, 91, I went back to grad school and got my MBA. While I was a full-time broker, I did weekends. And at the time, I thought commercial real estate was going to get more sophisticated, and that there would be a bonus value to having an MBA for brokers as corporate real estate people got hired. They would view that education as something important. Didn't turn out that way. What turned out is the bigger companies started getting these national accounts, and the smaller ones that aren't gobbled up by the CBREs and the JLLs of the world don't give a darn about the MBA. That aside, I did learn a lot of leadership skills and management skills that I probably would have never had I not got the MBA. So I started
Yep.
using those, but I used them 20 years after I got it, but in a
Yeah.
different way. So life always tends to pay you off, and I really I believe I do believe in this teamwork thing. I do believe as a broker to really start enjoying the brokerage better, for senior guys that are listening, or young guys that maybe have a family or starting a family, and girls, women, that having some sort of a team, whether it's just an assistant or somebody young or a partner, really can pay off if you're committed
Yep.
to it.
Yep. I love it. So the value of a team. Thanks for your time. And I will end it with this. Craig and I always say we're building our software. Yes, we've got our software one source, but we also try to be hands-on with our brokers, our customers. And so, if you have questions on any of these topics, we'd love to talk to you and help however we can. We don't want to just be the software. We want to be a partner.
Yeah, it's been interesting have the number of calls we get from our users that will call on a user topic, and then we'll get into something else like this.
Yep.
Like, how are we using our one source product with our team
Yep.
differently than what we do? Because like we just had a team meeting, and we're using DealView. We're doing a pitch on Wednesday, and we have DealView graphs in there all over the place because it's part of our culture.
Yep.
So we are using it on
Yep.
the pitch.
And I would say more often than not, we are in onboarding calls with customers talking about how can we use the software to help us with the team or with listing presentations. And, it's so much more, beyond just clicking, things and filling data in the software. It's so much more, the conversations that we get into are so much more and so much beyond that, which is fun, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we're now almost 4 years into the journey, and our system's gotten really good,
Yep.
sophisticated,
Yeah.
and it's cool, really
Yeah.
cool.
There you go. The unspoken truth. Thanks again.
Thank you.